Welcome to the Humanity Mosaic podcast, exploring authenticity and connection with Dr. E. Thank you for joining us today as we explore issues that affect our relationships in today's world. And now welcome to today's episode with Dr. E.
Welcome, everyone. As always, I'm really happy to be with you today, and I am looking forward to what I have to bring to the stage today. I want you to know that this woman, Asha Frost, is an Indigenous Ojibwe healer, best-selling author, speaker, and guide. Asha has become a prominent figure in the field of Indigenous healing, garnering recognition on both local and international platforms. She has created transformative experiences for thousands with her heart, profound wisdom, and unwavering dedication to her heritage. As an author, Asha has eloquently captured the essence of Indigenous wisdom in her written words. Her book, You Are the Medicine, and Deck, the Sacred Medicine Oracle. They are powerful testaments to the healing potential that lies within us all. She loves sharing her medicine in powerful ways through ceremonies, workshops, and speaking events. Her work serves as a guiding light, reminding us all of the power of the medicine that lies within. Please welcome Asha Frost. Welcome, Asha. I'm so happy to have you here on the stage with me today.
Oh, it's such a blessing to be here. I love being with you.
Yes, we do have a good time, don't we?
We do.
Asha, after that introduction, I know so many people are curious about who you are and what you're doing in the world. I've had the privilege of knowing you for a little while now, and I'm always amazed and absolutely full of gratitude for the work that you're doing in the world. But you have a new book out now.
I have a new deck. I have a new oracle deck, and it's called the Animal Elders Oracle, and it is a spirit animal deck that I'm so excited about. It has the energy of elder medicine, which I think we as Indigenous people, we really honor our elders. We have so much reverence from our elders, and I think societally we don't see that in every culture. So it's bringing in that remembrance of the elder medicine plus the animal beings that are our kin, that are coming in as the elders, to make it more accessible to all so everyone can have that wisdom available to them.
Well, that is so very powerful, because one of the flaws of modern society in many places is this whole neglect of the elders and really not being able to learn from the wisdom that, of course, they have passed on to many of us. And you, in your work, you lift that up, you elevate the elders. How do you think that, particularly for those listening today, that we who have not come from the same deep, rich heritage that you have, a culture that has always known to honor the elders, what can we learn from you and from the way that you work in the world?
Oh, goodness. I think it comes back to honoring lived experience sometimes, because I think that we go through an evolution throughout our lifetime, growing, learning, stretching. And I think when you're at an older age, you've done that many, many times. You've lived lifetimes almost of doing those things. So I think from an elder perspective, we can look to see those stories, and they're so potent because then they have that gold to offer us.
Yeah.
So that's what we've always known. We've always known we are an oral tradition. So we've always listened to storytelling as a way of passing down our culture, passing down our ways of being and living. And it comes from that really pure source of beings who have been connected to the land and the earth and all the things. So yeah, I think that even practicing storytelling, I think, more in our homes is a beautiful thing to do.
I love that you're saying that, because I know that so very often, just as a psychotherapist, I've had people come to me really torn up inside and very sad because they did not listen to the stories of their elders, before they transitioned on. And bringing that back into sort of mainstream society is so very important, because for each one of us individually, when a loved one passes on, when we lose our opportunity to listen to those stories and to learn from them and to share them and continue to pass them down. And I admire and respect so much your contribution in terms of what you're doing to make sure that stories get elevated. And you're teaching us, how to do that. How long have you been doing this work, Asha?
So I've been in practice for 20 years, and I started as a homeopath. So I had my private practice as a homeopath, helping folks with healing from an energetic level. And a lot of people came to see me for anxiety and depression or autoimmune conditions. And then it started to weave into this healing practice where more of my Indigenous ways of being came through my healing work. So I was doing hands-on healing and ceremony. And it's really quite a gift. Everything has been guided by spirit. I think that I commend myself for listening, because sometimes it's hard to listen and to follow through. But the ancestors kept guiding. Now it's this route. Now it's this direction. Try this out. And I kept listening and leaping, trusting that that was the next way of going for me. So now it's evolved into this beautiful speaking, author, oracle deck creator presence that I feel really aligned with. And I'm just really grateful.
Well, we're grateful for you. In all of the years that you have been doing this work, what are maybe one or two powerful moments of personal growth or transformation that you can share?
I think that probably my physical body has taught me the most. I have lupus, and it has taught me the importance of boundaries, rest, saying no, standing my ground. It's taught me the importance of the generational healing that I think lives within our bones and our blood. My body is a messenger, it's a teacher and a guide. So anytime I've had a really big flare up or gone through a really challenging time, those have been pivotal moments where I knew something needed to shift. I needed to realign with something. It always really comes back to boundaries, typically for me, or rest. So, there's been moments of time where I've had really hard flare-ups that have been pivotal moments where things needed to change. And then I emerged as that butterfly, or I emerged as that light source, carrying through all of those lessons. And then I can share those with others. So that's a really important part of my journey.
That's amazing. Yeah, I know that, so many of us in the world now have different things going on with our bodies, that we're aware that something is off, but we don't know how to move into doing some type of healing that would, help calm down a flare up, or help to diminish the anxiety that we're experiencing. Are there any things that you can share that might be helpful for our listeners in terms of if they're going through something and the physical body is speaking and saying, you need to calm down, you need to slow down? What are some just little things that you can share that might be helpful?
I think the biggest thing is always how much we shame ourselves, how we think there's something wrong or we're broken, and we think, what's wrong with me? I need to get through this so that I can go back to the way that I was living before. And what I've noticed is noticing that shaming voice, that oppressor voice sometimes that speaks to me that's not mine, and noticing, oh my goodness, it's telling me, you better heal fast. You don't have time for rest. Don't take this moment. You'll miss this opportunity. It's never going to come back. Like all of these things that I think that our systems have told us. So number one is be aware of whose voice that is. Maybe it's a systemic voice. Maybe it's a colonial, patriarchal, or, other kind of voice that's taking up a lot of space in your body. And then try to do something to unwind that, whether it's standing on the earth, whether it's lying flat. Sometimes I lie flat on my back for 3 minutes just to say to my body, I'm listening to you. I'm getting lower. I'm hearing you. So I think that connecting with the land, sometimes bare feet on the earth really helps. Those are the types of things that I think that really help. But for me, it's all about noticing where the shame's popping in and where I'm blaming myself for being sick or experiencing symptoms.
Oh, that's fascinating. You use the term generational healing a few moments ago. And for so many people, there's a lack of awareness of how important that can be, or how that generational healing or a lack of generational healing can affect us. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this awareness became really clear to me when my son went to school and he hated it. And there was a moment where he looked and turned to me and said, "Don't let them snatch me away." And we'd never used that terminology. He was only 4, and his eyes were full of terror. And I thought, it shook me. And I thought, oh my goodness, he's carrying trauma from residential schools in Canada, from my grandparents. That's just being remembered right now through this experience. So it showed me, it was proof to me that this had carried down through inherited DNA memories, cells, and I knew I needed to do something with that. So we do carry those memories, those cellular memories in our waters, in our bones, in our blood, that, they'll come up every so often, and they'll whisper to us, and they really are carried from our ancestry and what's gone through our own DNA. So we can be the ones to choose and take responsibility for doing something with that, whether it's tending to it, whether it's storytelling. I think that telling the truth and storytelling about our history is really helpful, because then it takes the shame away from all that blame that we're blaming ourselves that something's wrong with us. There's a reason why you're feeling this way. And so a lot of the work that I do is based on that, after what my son showed me, and then after what I discovered in my own bones and blood. We all carry this to a certain extent. Some of us just have cultural impacts that are a little bit deeper than others. But I do think we all carry a level of ancestral wounding that can be addressed and that can be tended to ultimately. And for me, it's always, if you can come back to a sense of love within ourselves and tend and mend it and not shame it, then I think that it will heal.
That is amazing and so true, so powerful. I have had situations in my life where I could definitely connect what I was feeling and experiencing to sort of what was being carried in my ancestral DNA. And of course, I learned to do that healing work. But for people who have never approached making the connection between lived experiences and something that will trigger you or will actually contribute more to a physical flare up of some type, particularly if you have any type of autoimmune illness. And if you're listening to this now and you want to get some type of help, where would you tell people to look to be able to access the work that you're doing or the work that you know is being done out in the world to help people with this?
The most profound work that I've seen is to do some journeying with people. And I think that there are many practitioners that do this, but I think we've all been colonized to think that our minds can heal us. And yet when we close our eyes and we breathe and we access a different space, whether that's a visionary space or a dream space, the answers are all there. And I've been doing that work for about 20 years, where we go into a different space. And I think dreaming, visioning, sitting with the land, all those things that we've been colonized away from bring us back to that connection to what is living in our bones and our blood. And I've practiced this with thousands of people, and I'd say that most of them can access some sort of communication, information from simply closing their eyes and breathing and journeying. And I think many people do this kind of work. But through my journeys that I have some recordings and some of my spaces that I create ceremonies in, that's the work that we do.
Wow. Asha, would you be able to lead us through an experiential process?
Oh, I'd love to do that.
I just think that would be so amazing as I sit here listening to you, and I've had access to you doing this work. Could you do something with us now?
I love that. So since we're talking about ancestral healing, and maybe you're conscious of this or not, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to just invite you to give yourself permission to experience the depth of healing, whether this is something you've carried in this lifetime or lifetimes past, whether this is something that's inherited through your DNA, Just allow yourself to sit with it, to tend to it, and to be gentle with yourself. And we can close our eyes as we do this. And first, I invite you to feel the land beneath your feet, acknowledging the spirit of the land and the spirit of the ancestors, your ancestors known and unknown, your guides, the angelic beings, all of the beings that are so powerful. They support you here. And as you breathe, remembering that your body, your spirit, your heart, your mind, it all knows where you need to go. So as you breathe, move into your body and find a place that may feel tight or heavy or maybe fractured or disconnected. Locate this part in your body. And again, we're going to move tending, compassion, and heart medicine to that area. We're going to hold it with care. As you breathe, this gorgeous door appears before you. It's shining with light. We bring rainbow light through this space. I bring the rainbow light in, and as we do this, the ancestors gather. They are leading this journey, and they walk you through this door. There may be ones who have passed on to the other side. There may be ones that you feel are familiar. And today they walk you into this gorgeous ancient forest with all of the medicines that they know well. There's plants and trees that are here to help you reclaim who you are. There's so much beauty here. As you walk to this forest and as you move through, there's a sacred clearing here on the soil. As you sit down here, you breathe in the scents of the pines and the cedars and the birches. You breathe in the medicines, for they are here for you. And today you feel this medicine going into those places and spaces in your body where you might be holding some of this ancestral wounding or trauma. You breathe this care in, and it begins to weave. It begins to weave and gently unravel these places and spaces within. It begins to unravel and move gently the energy that wants to move, any energy that might have been trapped. And as it does, you may begin to get visions or sensations or understandings or see people or places, feeling how this is rooted in. This is a space to release it. And in this great ancient forest, the earth is here witnessing, listening, and mulching. So you breathe. You breathe into these places and spaces, and as you exhale, you release them onto the earth. You release them into the trees. You release them into all of our kin that are here to clear and cleanse you. Breathe in and release. Breathe in and release. And now you feel the earth holding you so tenderly. And you feel this rush of unconditional love moving up from Mother Earth. Akikwe miigwech miigwech. You stand and you place your hands upon that part over your body where you found that wound. You send it more love. And you walk out of that forest, back to the path, all the way back through that door. And as you move back into your space, you breathe yourself back. And if you'd like, you can place your hands over your heart, just offering yourself some more care as the ancestors thank you for doing this work, for still being here. And we can open our eyes.
That was
That touched you in some way. I hope that touched you. Yeah, I hope that anybody who's listening to this can be really tender with themselves over the next while and take take care of that spirit.
Oh, well, I know that we would all love to be able to take you home with us. And we'll listen to this over and over again. That was so beautiful. And I mean, I could feel that in my body, but you have a very special, special gift, an anointing. And I know that you are helping people all over the world. So Asha, may I ask, what is your next step? What does the future hold for you?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have a new book in the works. It's just in its dreaming phase, and it's going to be about my physical health journey and how I'm hoping that it'll help all those that you speak about that are going through some sort of health stuff, some chronic illness or any sort of, feelings that I want to just bring that non-shaming viewpoint that you are well and you're not broken. So that's my new dream. And I'm going to keep dreaming. I just love to create and I love to be with a lot of people. So my speaking too, I just want to see stages and people and all of it.
Well, that I'm sure is going to happen because every time you show up, the world gets just a little bit kinder and gentler because you walk through the world with such a beautiful spirit and such a warm and loving heart. Asha, let me ask this personal question. Do you have children?
I do. I have a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old. They're both boys.
And as you are bringing these children along, as you are sort of bringing them into the world that we live in today, are there some things that you are sharing with them to help them feel more grounded, more safe, more have a greater sense of belonging?
Oh, yes. We do a lot of ceremony in my home. Practices like smudging, drumming. We do those ceremonial aspects, not all the time, but when I think that they're needed, they're exposed to our culture quite a bit. My husband's Jewish, so we have a lot of tradition in our home and ancestral harmony, I guess I would say, or ancestral connection is just really important for both of us. So they have a lot of family knowing and connection knowing, and that's really important for us. That's a priority. And we talk about dreaming. What did you dream last night? So all of the things that I think are re-indigenizing them and helping them to come home to who they are. And I will say that they are proud of who they are. And that is my biggest accomplishment. They've never questioned. They've never worried. They stand with pride. They're the only Indigenous people in their school. And they step up to do the land acknowledgements and they are speaking about it. And that feels like I've healed something so that they can be proud of who they are.
That's beautiful. And I'm very grateful that you are bringing your children up that way because we all need a bit of re-education about, our own ancestry, but particularly looking at being where we are in this part of the world, reclaiming our connection to the earth and the wisdom that is needed for us to move forward. And I know that the Indigenous culture is just right there, with your hand on the heartbeat of the earth, whereas many, many cultures are just beginning to recognize how important that work is. And your children seem to be, well, I guess the best way I can put it is not just well adjusted, but when you said they're proud of who they are. This is something that we want to instill in all of our children, and yet sometimes it's difficult. You've managed to do that. What do you think is the special ingredient that you have added in the work that you do with them that helps them to feel more proud of themselves?
I think part of it is doing my own work and meeting all of the harm I think that my people have experienced and that generational work. It's so magical, but sometimes when you do your work, you see it go 7 generations back and forward. It truly does that. So I see my mother and my grandmother healing, and then I see my children healing. It's really magical when you commit to that. So that's really what I think the special ingredient is.
Well, I was hoping you'd say something like that. There were no cue cards to be able to get you to say exactly what I want you to say. However, that right there for everyone who's listening, and it's not just your own children, but the children of the earth, we're all connected and we all have healing that we need to do, but the healing doesn't happen if it doesn't begin with you. If you're not willing to touch some of your own wounds, then we have to remember that what we don't heal is very likely to continue to wound going forward. And if there's something wonderful that we can learn from you, Asha, and Indigenous culture, is how important it is to look at the past and all of the things that go along with it that even affect us to this day, so that we can create health and well-being in our DNA, in the way that we actually navigate the world, and what we pass on to those who we don't even know, but our future loved ones that are to come. Asha, I am just, well, I never want to stop talking to you, as you well know. We have our little get-togethers scheduled. But would you just mention to everyone, and I know that it's going to be up on the screen and we'll have links in all of this, but the best way to reach out to you would be?
So ashafrost.com is my website. And then I'm always on Instagram. So asha.frost is where you can DM me. I'm in my DMs always. So please do that if you have any questions.
And I will say, it is wonderful to see you on Instagram. You know how you keep scrolling with some people's reels, and yours are so beautiful and so intentional. And so there's a word that I would want to use. They're educational, but they're more than that, because they really touch your heart. They touch your spirit. And I'm always looking for you. What have you put up on Instagram? Because it always lands in such a warm place in my heart.
Thank you. You always related a warm place in my heart. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, Asha, thank you. And looking forward to our next get together, which needs to be sooner rather than later.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Humanity Mosaic podcast with Dr. E. For more information, please visit deboraheggerton.com and be sure to check out theauthenticselfcommunity.com to continue your journey.